you see in the media images currently in the Middle East of wars of tension. Our government is providing an armed response to that. What we suggest that we, how should we think as Australians? And I'm not Muslim, I'm Christian, but how do you think we should sort of respond or interpret what's going on there at the moment? And just sort of, I guess, enlighten us a little bit from your perspective as Muslims. It's difficult from the outside to look in and draw a conclusion. There's so many different points of view, and the frame that we see in the media, I don't always think is correct.
I'll just start answering that question. I think one thing we want to agree on, first of all, this ain't a political session, and the Middle East situation is undiscussable if we don't integrate the political element of it. The reality of the political situation there is that there are no clarities anywhere. I don't think that there's any government, individual, even those who are based there or those outside, who can make sense of the situation. I think those of us who follow this, who are in the field, and who understand and have stayed in that part of the world, understand that there is no clarity. Nobody knows the reality of the ground on really who's in the right, who's in the wrong, what is the political situation, what's it instigated by, and I'd be foolish to stand in and attempt to try and sift through the political process. And hence, I'm not going to do that. But what I am going to do is to say that we as Australian Muslims, how do we view what is going on there in our situation? Across Australia, dare I say across the Western world, there has been no shortage of open condemnation of what has been happening, of the extremism that we see, and I'm deliberately using the word, of what we see from certain quarters. At every opportunity, we discuss the reality of what represents Islam and what doesn't. We are absolutely clear on this and in this regard, that what we see in the form of IS or ISI or whatever form or whatever name or title you want to give them, that we certainly differ on the fundamentals and the approach to the religion. If anybody has been in the sermons, in the last few sermons, in this mosque, in our Eid prayer recently, across the city, across Australia, there is open condemnation of this. And the reality of it is that being a Muslim in Australia now is as difficult as it has ever been, or if ever, in the history of Australia. We are just at a crossroads as our fellow non-Muslim community are. So where do we go from here? Which direction do we take? What does our future look like? We suffer from the same questions. And this is the point that I want to make, that we are openly condemning what happens there. Can we make sense of it? I don't think it's our duty to make sense of what's going on. We've got to somewhere along the line come closer to home and start protecting our own interests of where we are. This is what this day is about. It's a protection of our interests that unfortunately, due to a circumstance elsewhere, we have to come here and condemn what happens there and actually show the reality of what we are about to irrespective selves. And so hence, I'm not attempting to make sense of it. All I'm saying is that we are here, we clear on what is happening there has no representation. It doesn't represent us in any capacity. We find a vast difference in the fundamentals which we represent and what they represent. And we have been vocal about this at every opportunity that we have been given. I hope that it partially answers as a matter of principle some part of this.
Just with regards to this year, again, just to reiterate, unfortunately, we as Australian Muslims, we find ourselves always apologizing for things we have not done. And I think we have to be respectful that what happens in Rome, or what happens at the Vatican, and what happens with regards to various other difficult situations that the Catholics find themselves in when you find topics like, pedophilia and other issues. We don't expect the rest of Christianity to come out and apologize for the wrongs of one or two people sitting out there. So likewise, we as a Muslim community, there's that much we can do to say we condemn, we do not subscribe to any of these ideas and ideologies. But we need to just take a step back and see, as Australians and as Australian Muslims, what contribution have the Muslims made over the last 200 some odd years. Documented history that the Australian Muslims arrived here before Captain Cook. Read the history of the 16th and 17th century of the Makassans and the Indonesian fishermen who came, and you don't have to go very far, just go to Frio and they have that museum, and there's much written about it on the boards of that museum. Come back to the 1860s and see what the Afghan cameleers done to build up Australia and what we call the arteries of Australia, linking up. This uncle here is agreeing with me. Do you agree with me, sir?
I certainly do.
Of course, you are around long enough to know that the 1860s and the history of the Muslims, and see the contribution that the Muslim community, the Afghans, have made, linking up east to west. Go to Alice Springs and just research and tell me over this last 200 years. And not only that, the Perth Mosque in William Street, celebrated in 2005 with Alan Carpenter and Jack Gallup. We celebrated the 100-year the centenary of that mosque, and that's more than 100 years old. So our roots have been here for more than 100 years. It's not from today that we need to, go back to your country. Well, 4 of my 5 kids are born here in Australia. Where do you want them to go? They are born in Armadale or in Subiaco. So what do you want to tell this future generation? Go back to your home? This is our home. And we need to appreciate each other. And don't worry too much of what's happening out, because we can go on and talking of politics. And what's happening in Ukraine, is it correct? World War, was it correct? Wasn't it correct? Who is right and who is wrong? And how is it going to help us? Like the lady mentioned, we all have as Australians, and I think whether we are Australian Muslim, non-Muslim, we subscribe to a religion or not, each one of us, we have got the same vision and same desire. And what is that? First of all, for us to be successful in our lives, number 1. Number 2, we want to have and build for the future so that our generation and the youth and our kids can be successful. Mr. Chris was here earlier. He said in our electorate there are 70 different languages spoken in this area, this Gosnell, Southern River, Thornley area. 70 different languages. But should I tell you something? This multicultural society, from those, Brother Saeed is here from the Office of Multicultural Interest, he'll give us more updated stats. But I would say 70 of those languages and nationalities, from there you have got Muslims. And from those Muslims, go to BHP, go to Rio Tinto, go to Western Power, go to the police department, go to the Navy, go and see Fremantle and the submarines, see the Army, go to Fiona Stanley Hospital. One of our gentlemen, he is a pharmacist, and when they opened their doors about 2 weeks ago, his portfolio, he's laughing at me, his portfolio was what? To actually roll out the pharmacy department, a very important department of the hospital, for the patients that will be coming through, and he is a Muslim. Our Muslim sisters, they are in every type of profession, whether it is civil engineering. You talk of the Gorgon project, a $5+ billion project. One of the big brains behind that project is a Muslim youngster. And you see in the last year, Brother Kashif, he's won a number of Western Australian Entrepreneur Awards. These are just some of the things. You talk of our Islamic educational institutions. We have got some 2,500 students who come through an education, not just success in this life. I move on further. Success in this life and the year after. We don't just stop here. Success in this life and the year after. And we want our youth, and this is the message, as Australian Muslims, be a politician with morals and values. Be a policeman with morals and values. Be a doctor with morals and values. Be a pharmacist with morals and values. Be a human being. Nobody disputes the fact that we don't want good citizens coming out of this country. And this is the vision of Australian Muslims, and this is who we are.